Welcome to Money RX for CRNAs and nurse practitioners. I'm Brett Fellows, certified financial planner. Today, I want to talk about something I see pretty consistently when nurses meet with me to talk about retirement. They have saved well and they have been very disciplined over their working career. They've done everything by the book for the last 20 or 30 years. And then they arrive at age 60 or 65 with a pretty significant pre-tax retirement balance. And so they're confident that they have done the work. Now, the problem isn't what they have built. The problem is that the financial industry spent 3 decades teaching them how to accumulate money and then just stopped there. Nobody covered what happens when you have to start drawing down from it. At age 73, required minimum distributions will begin. So the IRS forces you to withdraw a minimum amount from your pre-tax accounts every single year, whether you need that income or not. They want their tax. So for a nurse who spent 30 years doing everything right, those distributions can push her into a tax bracket that she never planned for. It can trigger Medicare surcharges she never anticipated. And it can make up to 85% of her Social Security taxable, all in the same year and every year. So she did everything right. The rules just changed and no one explained what was coming. So what I have found working specifically with NPs and CRNAs is that this plays out in 5 concrete places. 5 decisions that look responsible from the outside and then only reveal their cost much later. And most nurses are making at least 2 of them. Some are making all 5. And the window to correct them is open right now. But it closes faster than people think. Mistake 1 is building only one tax bucket. So the 3-bucket framework is worth understanding before we go further. Your pre-tax accounts, which include your 403(b) and traditional IRA, go in bucket 1. Roth accounts, where growth and withdrawals are tax-free, go in bucket 2. And your taxable brokerage account goes in bucket 3. It is flexible, there are no contribution limits, therefore there are no withdrawal limits. Most nurses I work with have 90% or more of their retirement savings in bucket 1, and that is where the cascading problem starts. A $1.2 million pre-tax balance at age 73 generates roughly $46,000 in required minimum distributions in the first year. Add $30,000 or more from Social Security, and now you're at $76,000 in reportable income. And oh, by the way, Medicare is looking at your tax return from 2 years ago to set your premiums. IRMAA is the Medicare surcharge system that most people do not encounter until it hits them in the face. IRMAA stands for Income Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. Now, it's not a ramp up, it's a cliff. You cross one income threshold by a single dollar, and you owe the full surcharge on every dollar of your Medicare premium, not just the portion above the line. In 2026, crossing the first tier costs an individual $1,148 more per year. Cross the second tier, and it's over $3,000 more annually. And that's just for Medicare Part B. And because 85% of Social Security can become taxable once your income crosses $44,000 as a single filer, the forced withdrawal from a pre-tax account triggers taxes on income she wasn't even touching. Again, she didn't ask for any of this income. The RMD forced it, and IRMAA followed it. Mistake 2, not using the 457(b). This is the mistake I bring up in almost every meeting with a hospital employee, and it pretty regularly gets the same reaction almost every time. Either they have never heard of it, or they have heard the name and just assumed it wasn't something that they needed to look into. So hospital-employed nurses, and that covers most NPs and a large share of CRNAs, typically will have access to two retirement accounts. Now, the 403B is the familiar one, but the 457B sits right next to it, and the two plans do not share contribution limits. In 2026, the standard contribution limit is $23,500 per account. That means an eligible hospital employee can put $47,000 into tax-advantaged accounts in a single year before catch-up contributions. And thusly, a nurse over age 50 can contribute even more. And the 457B has one feature that makes it particularly powerful for early retirement planning. When you leave your employer, you can withdraw from a 457B at any age and without the 10% early withdrawal penalty. There is no minimum age requirement tied to the 457B the way there is with the 403B. So that means a nurse who retires at age 62 can tap her 457B immediately and without penalties while she lets Social Security grow towards its maximum. An NP at 52 who starts contributing $23,500 per year to a 457 builds over $235,000 in a decade. That's a bridge account. It's the income source that funds the early retirement years without forcing early Social Security and without triggering a 10% penalty on withdrawals. So most nurses who have it don't use it. HR explained both accounts on their first day of employment, but no one was ever explained why the 457B was different. Mistake 3, claiming Social Security too early. This one follows directly from the last one. Without any type of bridge account and without a brokerage, nurses who retire in their early 60s often feel like they have one option for income: turn on and start collecting Social Security. Claiming at age 62 on a $2,000 per month full retirement age benefit locks in $1,400 per month. That's a 30% permanent reduction, while waiting until age 70 produces a $2,480 per month benefit. So the difference is $1,080 per month for the rest of your life. Over 20 years, that gap is $259,000. Now, the break-even analysis shows that delaying to age 70 starts paying off around age 81 or 82. And female nurses consistently outlive that threshold by a significant margin. So the lifetime value of waiting almost always wins. And there's an additional reason for you to consider to delay. Social Security income counts towards your MAGI for IRMAA purposes. A nurse who delays to 70 and uses bridge accounts for income in the years between 62 and 70 can keep her MAGI, modified adjusted gross income, extremely low during those years, which then helps her manage her Affordable Care Act premiums before Medicare starts, and still arrive at age 70 with larger Social Security benefit that's far less likely to trigger IRMAA surcharge. Mistake 4, no taxable brokerage account. Now this one is brief because the mechanics are pretty straightforward. A pre-tax 403 withdrawal of $75,000 counts as $75,000 of ordinary income. A brokerage withdrawal of $75,000, drawn from a mix of principal return and long-term capital gains, can produce very little taxable income. So for a nurse in early retirement before Medicare, that difference alone can change her Affordable Care Act premium from $18,000 to $22,000 per year down to $3,000 to $6,000 per year. Same spending, same lifestyle, but $12,000 to $18,000 difference in healthcare costs purely from the account that she drew from. So without a brokerage, there's no low MAGI income source. Every dollar of living expense has to come from somewhere. And for most nurses, that means pre-tax accounts and early Social Security. both of which spike your income. Mistake 5, staying in accumulation mode. So this one doesn't have a dollar figure attached to it, but it drives all the others. Nurses who made the shift from clinical thinking to a financial accumulation thinking are among some best savers I have ever seen. Now, accumulation thinking optimizes for one thing: growing the account. Distribution planning optimizes for something completely different. So the questions change from how much did I save to which account do I pull from first? In what amount? How do I preserve flexibility for tax management? When does Social Security enter the picture? So the decision-making framework that built the portfolio is not the right one for drawing it down. The nurses who make this mistake aren't being careless. They're simply applying a system that worked brilliantly for the last 30 years, but it's past the point of where it applies. So let's put that all together. Number 1, a tax bucket with no Roth and no brokerage. Number 2, a 457B contribution limit going unused every year. Number 3, Social Security claimed early because there was no bridge. Number 4, a 30-year accumulation mindset running past its useful life. Every one of these mistakes leads you to the same place: a retirement that's inflexible and more expensive than it needs to be. The number in your 403B isn't the problem. The distribution plan is. And the good thing is every one of these is correctable. Most nurses watching this are still in the window where the math can change meaningfully. But that window closes as you approach age 73, and some of those moves cannot be made retroactively. So what exactly does a well-structured retirement plan look like for a nurse? 3 buckets: contributing income in a sequence that keeps taxes low, a 457B building a bridge to delay Social Security, a Roth providing tax-free income when it's most valuable, a brokerage with flexibility for ACA and IRMAA management, and Social Security arriving at 70 as the highest possible monthly benefit. The difference between that picture and the one where RMDs force income you don't need is not a different savings rate. It is a plan for how the money comes out, not just how it goes in. And we call that distribution architecture. It is not a product or an investment strategy. It's the structure of how your accounts work together in retirement to produce income with the lowest possible tax drag and the most flexibility over time. So most nurses have an accumulation plan, but very few have a distribution architecture. Let me show you what this looks like in real practice. Meet Sandra. Sandra is an NP, 58 years old, 22 years at the same hospital system. She has $430,000 in her 403B, no Roth, no brokerage. She's been contributing to the 403B since she started, and she never opened a 457 because nobody explained it was too available to her. Now, she wants to retire at age 64. Path A is what happens if she changes nothing over the next 6 years. She retires at 64, claims Social Security at about 64 and a half because she wants some income while she figures out her plan. And she gets roughly $1,720 per month. She pulls the rest of her expenses from her 403B. By the time she hits age 73, her 403B has grown to around $590,000, even despite her withdrawals. RMDs start at roughly $22,800 per year, and her Social Security by then is $20,640 per year. So combined, she's at $43,440. Now, IRMAA isn't hitting her yet, but it is close. By age 78, RMDs are $35,000 or more. So she's past the first IRMAA threshold, and now her options are limited because there's nowhere flexible to pull money from. Path B starts today. Sandra activates her 457B and contributes $23,500 per year. She's over age 50 and eligible for the catch-up contribution, and so she can contribute even more, but we'll stick with $23,500 for this episode. She opens a taxable brokerage and puts $12,000 per year into it. And she does this for 6 years until she retires at 64. At retirement, she has a 457B with $170,000 and a brokerage with $80,000. She uses those accounts as bridge income for 6 years while she delays Social Security to 70. And during those 6 years, she also converts $25,000 to $30,000 per year from her 403B into a Roth at the 12% tax bracket. At age 70, Social Security arrives at $2,480 per month or $29,760 per year. Her 403B balance is lower, of course, due to the Roth conversions. But her Roth now has $180,000 or more. Her taxable income at age 73 is far more controllable, and IRMAA never gets triggered. Her total lifetime Medicare costs are lower. Her Roth gives her a tax-free lever to pull in any year that income spikes unexpectedly. Same person, same income over her career. Just 6 years of intentional decisions. Okay, 3 things for you to take away from today. Your pre-tax 403B balance is an accumulation number. It is not a distribution plan. The accounts you have, the order you draw from them, and the structure around them determine what your retirement actually costs. Your hospital's 457B is a second full contribution account. Activating it costs you nothing except the contribution, and it builds a bridge vehicle that changes the entire Social Security calculation. Social Security delay, funded by bridge accounts and disciplined conversions, is one of the highest return decisions available to a pre-retiree. The window to make it is before you claim Social Security, not after. If you want to run your specific numbers, I have a link in the description below to schedule a complimentary strategy session. We can look at your 403B, your 457, if you have access to it, your timeline, and map out what a distribution architecture looks like for your situation. There is no obligation, no pitch, just the numbers. And thank you for watching this episode of Money RX for CRNAs and nurse practitioners. I'm Brett Fellows with Oak Capital Advisors, and I'll see you next time.
This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. This podcast does not engage in rendering legal, financial, or other professional services.